Federal workers can do three things to create multiple streams of income and potentially make more, in some cases a lot more, than their government job is paying them. Look, government shutdown is scary for the normal person, but if you're a federal worker and the government is your employer, that could mean that you're not getting paid, or just the potential of not getting paid for weeks, if not a month or more, can really hurt. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can take matters into your own hands so you'll never have to worry about a government shutdown or a reduction in forces or any of that nonsense again. In fact, some of the federal workers that I work with look forward to a government shutdown because now they can spend more time on what I'm going to talk about in this video. A federal job can be very rewarding. You're giving back to the country, you're helping federal agencies, in some cases you're helping the military. And a federal job is supposed to be stable. Nobody gets rich with federal jobs, but they often come with great benefits and they pay well. But with government shutdowns and a lot of the things that have been happening lately, these federal jobs don't feel as stable as they used to be. This one's just for the federal workers, and let's go through a timeline of what has happened each year that could cause you as a federal employee to be nervous about your job or end up not getting paid. In 2010, President Obama recommends a pay freeze for civilian employees. 2011 debt ceiling crisis, government shutdown narrowly avoided. And also, I might add, when you're going through these potential shutdowns, the government's usually talking also about reduction in forces. This creates a lot of uncertainty. 2012, RIF in DoD contractors. 2013, we have a government shutdown. I'm going to read some of the data points here. 800,000 federal employees furloughed. 1.3 million worked without pay. They were paid retroactively later, but you're living paycheck to paycheck, depends on where you are in the country. You know, not everybody has a nest egg to rely on if all of a sudden their main source of income is going to get shut off. 2014 to 2016, hiring freezes, ongoing budget fights. 2017, shutdown threats, hiring freeze. January 2017, across executive agencies. 20% of jobs frozen in 2018. Short shutdowns in January and February 2019. Longest shutdown in U.S. history. 800,000 federal employees affected. 380,000 furloughed. 420,000 worked without pay. Federal employees missed 2 paychecks. 2020, COVID, pandemic hit, massive uncertainty, hiring freezes. 22, 23, shutdown threats. What we could see here is almost every year there's some kind of angst that you're going to feel if you're a federal employee getting to 2025. Right now, as I am recording this, the government is shut down. So, to combat this, I recommend to every federal worker that's watching this, same thing I would recommend to, people in our program. I would recommend this to my own kids. If you're a federal worker, you have got to have another source of income for your family, at least one that you can turn on in case the federal government turns off. For me, I want to be able to sleep at night. I'm sure you want to be able to sleep at night. By the way, this is also something that can create wealth for your family. It can give you the extra money to pay for tuition payment, car payment, do something nice, family trip. So for those of you that are new to this channel, you may not be expecting this. For those of you that watch all the time, you probably know I'm going to talk about consulting, right? And what I mean specifically is starting a freelance consulting business. Freelance consulting business, this is where you pick up clients, which are going to be companies that pay you for a service that you provide to them. The goal is to create multiple streams of additional monthly income. Now you can sell projects, you can sell monthly projects where they get paid automatically, you get paid automatically every month. What this does is it creates additional income for you and your family, and it gives you something to fall back on. Now a consulting client can be picked up relatively quickly. So this is something we can turn on in a few weeks. This is something that can add potentially a lot more income to what your family's bringing in every month. By the way, a lot of, at least the clients and students that we have in GovClose, a lot of people are transitioning out of the government and consulting full-time because you can make 2, 3, 4 times the amount of money as a consultant, if you're good at it, than you can as a federal worker. And you can work from home, you can have a lot of independence and freedom that you wouldn't normally have. But Rick, who am I to start a consulting business? I just spent the last 10 years in a federal agency, or 2 years. why would anyone hire me? What would I even be providing to them as a consulting service? How do I do it? How do I even pick up a client and price? Don't worry about that. I'm going to tell you in this video exactly what you need to do. And by the way, if you want to really deep dive on this, on how to consult and have companies pay you a significant amount of money, I would see this related video that talks about, I'm going to read the title of this, the highest paying remote job nobody talks about. I go really deep into the philosophy. It's not even a philosophy. It's why companies pay some people a lot of money to either work for them as an employee or work for them as a consultant. But before I walk you through step by step exactly what you're going to do to generate those multiple streams of income, I want to talk to you about the biggest skill that you have, or the biggest thing that you have. You might not even be aware of this, that companies will pay you for, right? And that is your experience in the federal government. I do a lot of videos on the military for the exact same reason. If you work in a federal agency, then you understand that federal agency better than anybody that hasn't worked in that federal agency. Why does that matter? Because companies will pay for people that can help them make money. And the US federal government is the single biggest purchaser of goods and services in the world. So if you understand a federal agency, you immediately, without knowing anything else, I'm not talking about your job in the government, I'm not talking about your education, I'm just saying, coming from that agency, we can look at how much that agency is spending on stuff every year, especially if you're with the DOD or some of these other agencies that are, billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars on just about everything that you could think of. But these agencies are paying for things like accounting services and legal services. They're buying technology and software. There's so many different things that the agencies are buying. And so now you, with your federal expertise, can help them sell to these federal agencies. So in essence, what I'm saying is we have to translate your skill set into something that companies understand. Companies understand money. Companies are trying to make money. At the end of the day, no matter how helpful a company is to the world or to people, they have to make a profit to stay in business. So we need to think about how your skills help a company make more money. And the fact that you're with a federal agency or you have that experience, I can't think of too many things that can help a company make money to the level that that can, which means high-paying consultant fees that you can charge to these companies. So your federal experience can help companies win large federal contracts. Therefore, they will pay you a lot of money to help them do that. This is the key, right? And the video I mentioned earlier, if a company, this was basically the thesis of that video, if a company has to hire, let's say 100 people in order to make $10 million, those people aren't going to get paid very much. Company has to hire, say 10 people to make $10 million. Those people will get paid a lot more. If a company can hire one person and help them generate $10 million, that person is going to get paid a ton. And in this case, that's exactly what we're talking about. Your consulting is going to directly be tied to the contracts that a company can win. And that equals a big paycheck for you if you know how to do it. So companies will pay you a lot of money in consulting fees to help them win government contracts. But in order to do this, you need to learn 3 things. 1, you need to learn a little bit about government contracting. 2, you need to learn how to start a consulting business. And then number 3, stick around till the end of this video. It's the most important part of the formula in order to make this all work. Now, let's take number 1, government contracting. You don't need to be a government contracting officer. You don't have to have been an acquisitions officer in one of these agencies, these federal agencies like I was for the Air Force. What you need to learn is how a company can sell whatever the product, service, or tech that they have to a federal agency. And we can see very precisely how any federal agency is buying specific products and services. Now, we teach this in GovClose. We also have a lot of free training on our YouTube channel. So check out the YouTube channel. You can learn a lot there. Clearly, you can come to GovClose. We'll train you on the entire process. It's not a course. We have an implementation program. We'll get to that at the end if you're interested. But for now, just know learning about government contracting, how the government buys, and some of the critical resources that you can use, like usaspending.gov, to help you figure that out for companies that you're potentially working with. Now, we make that easy in GovClose because we cover government contracting. And then the end of our training, we have a special phase that is completely dedicated to point number 2 is you need to learn how to start a consulting business. Okay? There's plenty of great programs and courses out there on how to start a consulting business. I've taken many of them when I first started my consulting business after retiring from the Air Force in 2019. Now, just some key things. I want to give you some actionable steps that you can take if you are thinking about starting a consulting business. One is I recommend everyone gets an LLC. This is going to give you, that's a limited liability company. Talk to your accountant if you don't have one, at least ChatGPT it up. But what you want to do is protect yourself and protect your family. So by starting a LLC, you can do that. You can go to like LegalZoom, some other areas that can make it easy for you. We can pair that LLC with a business bank account, which I also highly recommend. And then 2 other things that I think everyone should have. One is a website, a simple website. Right now with all the AI tools out there, check out, I think it's called Lovable AI. I might be wrong. Lovable something. But there are a lot of ways to bring up a website, to start a website really quickly with no experience coding or building a website. It's never been easier. That's what I'm trying to spit out here. The other thing is your LinkedIn profile. We want to make sure that that is solid. I did another video. You can check that out on the GovClose YouTube channel, which is dedicated solely to how you build a LinkedIn profile for government contracting. It applies for consulting, it applies for going out and get a job, but if you don't have a solid LinkedIn profile, you want to have that up and running and start working towards at least 500 connections on there. You can watch the video for more on that. And by the way, the final thing I would say is you want to get insurance. We cover this in depth in the program. You can get that in depth in other programs, but what we want to do is have those things in place for a mixture of trust. So people will trust you. They need to know you're real, and they're going to go to LinkedIn for that, and they're going to check out your website. There's several other reasons we want to do this, but those are the main ones. And then the other things I was discussing, LLC, business bank account, and insurance, those are to protect you. Okay? They're to protect you, protect your clients, and you're not breaking the bank doing any of these things. And you can get started relatively simply before you have those in place. But just know those are kind of the basics. But right now, I think you should also know, you might want to write this down. There are a couple great examples on our YouTube channel with federal employees like Ernesto, who went from federal employee to CEO of his own consulting business, and also Steven, that went from GSA to his own consulting business. And I'll leave links in the show notes so you can get there a little bit easier. Now, as I promised earlier in this video, there's one final thing that you need to understand in order to make this all come together. You need to learn how to sell to companies that will buy your services. And there's a lot that goes into that. First of all, what service are you selling? How do you price it? How do you get the leads? Where do they come from? What do you do once you have the leads, right? Do you have to get on a sales call? How does that go? Are you doing a contract? How do you write that? How are we pricing this? Are we doing hourly pricing? No, please. If you've never watched another video of ours and you go into starting your own consulting business, do not charge hourly. Like, that's my biggest piece of advice as far as pricing is concerned. We'll show you how to do it the right way in GovClose if you come into our program. By the way, go to govclose.com. You can check it out. Have a free call one-on-one with one of my advisors. They'll walk you through the entire process. You can check out all of our testimonials. We have over 225 people in GovClose that are just killing it right now. It's a 1-year program. You work directly with me and with other federal employees, military, professionals from other fields that have gone in and either started businesses selling to the government or consulting businesses, picking up clients, or in some cases going out and getting account executive jobs with big companies and small companies like tech startups and venture-backed companies. So a lot there that you can learn in GovClose. I do encourage you to go there because this is going to be a lot faster of a process for you if you have us to rely on to help walk you through the entire thing, but you don't have to. So all of those things that I mentioned earlier, there are consulting courses, which I've taken, and we'll get into some of that. With us at GovClose, it's just ours focuses on government contracting. So we cover government contracting and then the consulting piece, how to start that consulting business. So look, the government shutdown, we don't know how long this one's going to last, but as we've gone through the historics, we know every year over year, there is either talk of a shutdown or threat of a RIF or reprioritization of funds. There are a lot of things that could keep you nervous as a federal employee. And I think the most important takeaway of this video is that you have options and that your federal experience is important. And it's worth a lot of money if you package it the right way. Consulting's not for everybody. This is not for every federal worker out there. But if you do have an entrepreneurial spirit or, a thought in your mind that, hey, maybe I could go out and do something, this is a great way to test it, and to test it without having to quit your job, all of that. By the way, one piece of advice, there are some federal jobs, especially the closer your job is related to the government putting a company on contract, that you may want to check with the legal team. In fact, I would always recommend that, right? So for instance, I was prohibited from helping certain companies that were selling things that were related to what I managed in the Air Force. So, if you have one of those type of jobs, you may want to just talk to the legal team before you put your consulting business in place. I've seen this get approved by almost every single agency, military branch for people, usually without restriction. But again, you want to check and make sure that you're good to go. And I hope you are. Check out the next video that I'm going to put in, hopefully the screen you're looking at right here, where Ernesto left federal service, started his own consulting business. You can hear firsthand from him exactly how it's working and what he loves about it.
After going through the course, I was able to land a client that pays me a monthly retainer to actually help them develop their business and go after these federal contracts.
I was able to get a consulting gig with a software company that currently works with the intelligence community.
Within 2 months, I had my first client. So the initial contract was for a 3-month contract for $4,000 a month.
So 27 years old, you've never worked in government contracting. You've never worked as a consultant, and you just closed your first deal. Is that correct?
That's fair. And I've got a couple small projects on the side as well. So definitely probably my best investment I've made all year.
A cold call landed a 9-figure government contract.
Start a consulting business and a high salaried position as an account executive in public sales. So you're doing both of those things.
I'm living the best of both worlds right now.
So my name is Mike Knickerbocker. I am a naval officer that's getting ready to retire. Right now, I have 3 firm clients and 2 more perspectives. I'm able to provide value across different industries because the skill set that I learned through the course and was able to apply my own experience.
GovClose came and it was a no-brainer. I wanted some secret sauce.
This has allowed me to live in Germany. It's a little hazy today, but we can do that. You see?
Oh yeah, dude, that's beautiful.
The content, the training, it's invaluable. It's written.
And Deb, what motivated you to join the GovClose certification program?
Wow. Well, I think that wanting to work with a leader in the field, someone who understands government contracting on a deep basis and has the reputation, the experience working with you and your company was a natural.
The students that graduate our program, they go on to start their own consulting firms, winning high-dollar consulting clients. They go on to land high-paying salaried positions as account executives with companies that sell to the government. I'm so proud of the people that have gone through our program. And if you are considering either a job or a business, and by the way, some of our students are doing both, as I did. They're running a consulting business and they'll have an account executive job. It's transforming their lives. It's bringing true wealth to them and their families.